Okay, let's review the shots I'm going to use for this demonstration. First, we have the set survey. You've seen this before in the last video. Next, we have these 3 shots. These are simple shots I just auto-tracked. For this video, I just want to show you how to use your set survey to get all your shots into the same space for your 3D layout team and for comp. First thing I'm going to do is load the set survey and then save it as the master shot for this VFX sequence. Then I'm going to merge in all those other shots. Merging the other shots is as simple as going to the File menu and selecting Merge. As I merge the scene files for each shot in our sequence, I rename the cameras to their corresponding shot names. So camera 1 in this case becomes camera L01S01. I do this for all the merged cameras to make it easier for everyone downstream. You might ask, could I just track all the VFX shots right in the survey camera scene? Sure, there's no reason you couldn't do that. But remember, we're working in VFX, and every VFX sequence is different and may require a different approach. So none of what I'm saying here should be looked at as a biblical commandment.
The Lord Jehovah has given unto you these 10 commandments.
This time we're just going to merge in all those previously auto-tracked cameras. Now comes the fun part. Now we have to identify trackers in the survey shot in common with features in our VFX tracking shot. We're going to have to do some supervised 2D tracking here. To find those corresponding trackers, let's look at our survey camera and camera L01S01 side by side right in Finalize. I'm going to make sure I'm in the trackers room and switch to the camera and perspective layout. All this setup work will be done in the trackers room. So later, when you try this stuff and it doesn't work, first make sure you're in the trackers room. Over on the left, we have the camera view, and over on the right, we have the perspective view. But let's get simultaneous views of both cameras, the survey camera and camera L01S01. Here's something about these windows you may not already know. You can click that tiny little tab at the top left of any window and bring up a list of all the available viewports. If we right-click in any empty space within each camera or perspective viewport, it brings up the viewport menu, and it shows all the available cameras to display in that viewport at the bottom of the list. So let's change our perspective viewport to the survey camera. Now we have camera L01S01 in the camera viewport on the left and the survey camera in the perspective viewport on the right. Now we need to find features in shot L01S01 that are similar to the features that were tracked in our survey camera. Let's scrub the playhead to a section of the survey camera's footage where we can see the camera L01S01's tracked features. Shot L01S01 is only 120 frames, so we can only see 120 frames of our survey, and all the features shown in the photography of shot 1 can't be seen in this part of the set survey. So what do we do now? Let's switch the active tracker host back to the survey camera. Now, in the survey, let's find a view of the same features as shown in shot L01S01. Frame 774 looks pretty good. Let's freeze that frame. In the perspective view, let's bring up the View Floating menu. Now we can click the Freeze on this frame button. You could also right-click in the viewport, go to the View submenu, and find the Freeze option there too. It's about halfway down the list, but the View Floating menu just makes it easier. Now we've frozen the survey camera and the perspective viewport on the frame we liked. Let's go back and make camera L01S01 the active tracker host. Let's also hide all the other cameras and their trackers to make everything else easier to see. We'll definitely do that in the floating hierarchy view. Now we can just see the survey camera and its trackers, and camera LO1, SO1, and its trackers. Now let's look at our survey camera's trackers and see what features got picked up that we should track for camera LO1, SO1. How about the spot on the sea? There isn't an auto track tracker for that in camera LO1, SO1. Let's talk about these tracker triangles for a second though. The bottom point of the triangle in the perspective viewport is the equivalent of a supervised 2D tracker in the camera view. Let's go back and make the survey camera the active tracker host for a second. Notice how the bottom point of the triangle matches the solved tracker position for that feature in the camera viewport. Now let's go back to camera LO1, SO1 and track that feature on the sea. This is where the magic really starts to happen. Let's lock that new tracker for camera LO1, SO1 to the solved position of the corresponding tracker in the set survey. It's amazingly simple, so don't blink. I'm on a Mac, so with that feature's tracker selected in the camera view, I'm going to hold down the Command key and just click the corresponding tracker in the perspective view. Did you see what happened there? I'm going to undo that, and I'm going to do it again. I've got my new camera LO1, SO1 supervised tracker selected. I'm holding down the Command key, and now I'm just going to click the corresponding tracker in the perspective view. I'm going to undo that one more time. This time, pay attention to what happens in the seed and lock areas of the tracker's root. Our supervised tracker has been assigned a constraint locking it to the XYZ position of tracker 1430 in the survey. We're going to need to do this for a few more trackers. Just like spreading out our 2D trackers, we must spread out our constraints in the 3D space. So let's find some more features. The upper corner of this different section of the wall on screen right looks good. Let's do a supervised track of that. Of course, we need to lock our tracker to the corresponding tracker in the survey, tracker 1546. Let's do a few more of these. Now let's bring up the floating constrained points view. We can easily see here we have 6 constraints. A couple of these constrained trackers have lifetimes that either start late or end early. And we really don't want all of our constraints on that wall plane. We need something not on the wall that we can see in the survey and in the shot photography. The busted duct looks like a great candidate, but we can't really see the busted duct in the set survey because it's hidden behind some shrubbery.
A shrubbery!
We can now use the S and D keys to shift our frozen frame and bring that duct into view. Let's track a couple of those features. We can now probably get camera LO1, SO1 aligned to the survey, but first I want to look at my hierarchy view. Now I can see I have 4 cameras all set to refine. I don't want to refine all the cameras. In fact, I want to disable all their solvers, except for camera LO1, SO1. In the interest of saving time, I'm going to cheat here and just use Cynthia. I'm just going to tell Cynthia, make all cameras solver mode disabled. Now we just need to go to camera LO1, SO1 and set its solver mode to indirectly and hit go. Camera LO1, SO1 is now aligned to the set survey. I'm going to switch to my tri-cam perspective layout to get a better look at the scene. If you try to find this layout, you won't. It's a custom layout that I created in the Viewport Layout Manager. Look at that. Super cool, but we're still frozen in this viewport, so let's unfreeze on this frame. There's our camera moving within our survey camera. Oh, I love this. After the initial alignment solve, you can now see the survey camera's solved 3D point locations as small purple X's. One thing I do notice is that there are probably a few more features that could be constrained to get an even better lock on the set survey. Unfortunately, in our perspective view, our survey camera trackers, for some of those features, are really far away, and the tracker triangles are microscopic. So instead of jockeying back and forth with the tracker size in the scene settings panel, I'm just going to go old school and link trackers manually the old way. So let's manually link that camera LO1 SO1 tracker on the treetop to tracker 1390 in our set survey. Then we'll hit go again. We're going to pick this tracker, 343. Back in the trackers room, we're going to say our target point is tracker 1390 in the set survey. Okay. And now we can see our trackers are much more aligned. Now all we have to do is repeat this process for the other 2 cameras. So let's disable the solver for camera LO1 SO1 since it's now aligned. And let's make that camera and its trackers invisible. Now we'll unhide camera LO1 SO3 and its trackers and head back to the trackers room. We're going to have to pick a new frame to freeze on for the set survey, so let's take a look at what camera LO1 SO3 sees. The camera looks through the scene to where these 2 walls meet. Let's switch back to the survey camera and find a good frame for tracker linking. Frame 449 is probably good. Now let's go back to camera LO1 SO3. All the solved trackers for camera LO1 SO3 are piled up in the viewport with the survey camera's trackers. So let's go back in the 3D room and move all those trackers. With camera LO1 SO3 selected, click the hole button, and now we can just drag all those points out of the way. Now let's start linking. Let's switch camera L01 SO3 solver to indirectly and hit the go button. Now let's unhide camera L01 SO1 and its trackers. We can now see as we scrub the playhead, all three cameras are in the same space. We can get a great view of this in the floating perspective view. Okay, camera L01 SO3 is aligned, so let's disable its solver. Now we just have to align camera L01 SO4. Let's make the other solved camera's trackers invisible for now and start linking trackers. Okay, let's give solving camera L01 SO4 a shot. All right, so we have camera L01 SO4. I'm going to set its solver mode to indirectly, and I'm going to hit go. Solve the scene. Fantastic. Oh, hey, look at that. That camera is solved. But if you've used Synthesize for any length of time, you know that sometimes you might hit a solving issue and need to try different solving modes. So if this solve doesn't work for you the first time, give that a shot. Or you might just need more linked trackers. Or you may have set up some erroneous constraints. Those will typically be the issues. All right, let's go back to the 3D room. Let's make this quad perspective. Let's unhide all of the cameras and all of the trackers. So now we can see everything all in the same place. Let's unfreeze the survey camera. Zoom that back out. Now we can see all of our cameras in the same space. I'm going to make this viewport in the bottom left, make this perspective B. Put camera 1 in the top left. Let's make this camera L01 SO1. Make this a camera view. And make this camera L01 SO3. Let's make this a camera view. Make this one L01 SO4. Now we can see all of our cameras. In the same space. Here they all are. Here are all of our cameras. They're all in the same space. They're all moving around the same point cloud. This is why you shoot a set survey. That's all a great start to how useful set surveys are. And when you're faced with really shallow depth of field or extremely low parallax shots, having a set survey can be a real lifesaver. And when working on tracking sequences for actual shows, if I don't have LiDAR or a set survey, I'll often identify a shot with a lot of parallax that has features in common with the other shots, and I'll use that high parallax shot as the survey. I'm really sorry this took so long to get out. A little over a year, in fact. So I'm going to stick with making much shorter videos in the future. But good news, I'm going to give you all the footage from this series so you can play with this stuff yourself. So check the links below for that. Someone recommended I make some kind of tip jar to incentivize me to make more of these videos, so I'll put my PayPal link below. If you like this video or any of my others, drop in a couple bucks, and any cash you send, I'll put into making more of these. Okay, that's it for this one. Thanks for sticking around. Be well, stay safe, keep tracking, and I hope to chat with you in the comments.